FunOrb, Jagex's first major creation after the release of RuneScape. How did it go from a thriving site full of popular browser-based games to completely abandoned? The story goes a little bit deeper than Jagex simply not giving it any attention. In this video, I'll discuss everything about FunOrb from its rise all the way to its fall, and if it has any possibility of a future. So, as with every other abandoned video, we have to start at the beginning. FunOrb was originally launched on the 2nd of February 2008. It was a brand new site created by Jagex with a bunch of small Java-based games. It was also integrated with RuneScape so that both sites used the same account information. This means you could log into FunOrb with your pre-existing RuneScape account and vice versa. A lot of the website and its games were completely free. For those that wanted more out of FunOrb, you could buy a monthly subscription for $3 a month. If you also played RuneScape, you could subscribe to both RuneScape and FunOrb for just $7 a month. It's kinda crazy to think that a new subscription for RuneScape now is $9.49. Anyway, you may be asking, what did this subscription to FunOrb actually get you? Well, to keep things basic, you would be able to use full screen in some games, access to more in-game content, more achievements, and play member-exclusive games. Along with all these, members would get immediate access to the website's forums. Non-members would need to get 42 achievements before they could use them. The forums themselves probably look very familiar to some. That's because it appears to be a reskinned version of the old RuneScape forums. It's also the same thing whenever you're loading a game. This is super nostalgic for me personally. Anyway, with all these perks at just $2 or $3 a month, for many, the membership was very worth it, especially because Jagex was committed to updating FunOrb every 2 weeks. It first launched with just 18 games, but that number has increased all the way to 43 over the years. One of those games was Arcanist. It has almost always been the most popular game on the site and has been there since the start. Most impressive of all is the wiki states Jagex has used almost exclusively the popularity of RuneScape to gain patrons for the site, with almost all players being either current or former RuneScape players due to very little advertising. Regardless, the game was still so successful that rumors for a sequel started to spread around, but we'll get to that later. The second most popular game on the site, and my personal favorite, is Armies of Gielinor. It was introduced in January of 2009 and is set in the RuneScape universe. That reason alone is probably why Armies became so popular. Everything seemed to be going pretty well for a while. Jagex kept their promise with updates, and development seemed to be ramping up in a few fields. One of those was the mobile games field. On December 3rd, 2009, Jagex launched their first ever mobile game. It was called Bounce Down and was available for both iOS and computers. I personally remember seeing this game hit the top of the App Store charts for at least a couple days. Although it has been over a decade now, so it's a little bit hard to remember. Over the next few months, Jagex released 3 more mobile games. These were called Star Cannon, Minor Disturbance, and finally, Undercroft. The Undercroft release announcement was the final update posted to FunOrb on September 16, 2010. Ever since, nothing has happened except a few small changes. No new games, no new content, nothing. So, what caused what appeared to be a thriving site to just stop getting updates? This next section should answer a lot of questions. So, what you're seeing on screen now is a post from the Ask Reddit subreddit from about 7 months ago. The title of the post is Game Developers Who Have Worked on Terrible Games, When and Why Did You Realize the Game Was Going to Flop? And this response is supposedly from a former Jagex employee. There's not really much of a way to verify that they actually did work for Jagex, but I seriously doubt they have much of a reason to lie. This post is extremely long, so I'm going to summarize a bit. The post starts out with the former employee saying upper management, in his words, had no clue how to do anything in terms of running a development team. Every project besides RuneScape was stuck in development hell for years. Inside Jagex management, there was a huge pushback against any kind of third-party libraries or softwares. An example given is artists were not allowed to use Studio Max to make 3D models, and had to use a custom Jagex-written software called Jagex. He goes on to say that he finally had enough when on the Arcanist 2 team. He leaks a bit of information about it, saying that it was going to be a full standalone digital download game that was developed in Unity 3D. The fact that it was made in Unity is where problems started to arise. He says, Jagex prides itself in doing everything its way, so us using Unity 3D was controversial. Transformers Universe, another Jagex MMO, was being developed at the same time with the Jagex engine. Supposedly, a majority of the team wanted to use Unity, but management wouldn't budge. Soon after, all Unity 3D development inside Jagex was cancelled, which included Arcanus 2, sadly. After a year or so after this, Transformers Universe development stopped, and the game was scrapped, and restarted in Unity 3D. He then goes on to talk about the mobile games released by Jagex. The team is allegedly told by then CEO Mark Gerhard, if it doesn't get as many downloads as Angry Birds, there's no point. None of the games they'd created got even close, so as you can guess, all mobile development also got cancelled. As I mentioned previously, FunOrb would release new content every 2 weeks. Apparently, the team had at least a 1 game a month deadline. As time went on, the games got bigger and bigger. The next game had to be bigger and better than the last. Even so, the deadline remained the same, 1 game a month. I'll close out this section with a big quote from the ex-employee about why FunOrb actually stopped being developed. FunOrb lasted as long as it did, mostly because I feel Andrew Gower really liked us. He saw the potential in a room of developers churning out random projects to see what hit. But the investors and other heads all just needed profit, and if it didn't make as much as RuneScape, it wasn't worth it in their eyes. Once Andrew sold a share of the company, we lost one of the few people protecting us, I think. And that's when it all split into sub-teams. 8 Realms, Arcanus 2, some onto Transformers, most just quit/pushed. I was shifted to the core engine team after Arc 2, but I basically rage quit a few weeks later. Moving on from that story, I feel as if Jagex has definitely improved a lot as a company since then, these past few years especially. These days, Jagex seems to really care about what their players have to say, and experiments a lot. A pretty fine example of this would be Old School itself, as well as the Old School polling system. As you can imagine, a lot of players are upset that FunOrb was basically abandoned. Based on what I said earlier, it would make sense that Jagex would do at least something to make things right. Well, not to get your hopes up, but they just might be. So far, we have no news about FunOrb itself being revived, but it's pretty possible a new Arcanus sequel is on the way. This post from the RuneScape subreddit titled, "Need Money Jagex? How about Arcanus?" was posted about 2 months ago. The player who posted it says, "I'm not the first to say this, but you've slept on a gold mine," as another redditor once said. "I absolutely loved this game back in high school. The hours killed during class was worth it. Please consider it, I'm waving my wallet in front of you." It's not much, but Mod Balance responded with this winking face. I don't mean to jump to conclusions, but something is obviously in the works. As for FunOrb, who really knows? It hasn't been updated since seemingly 2014. Although, I did notice the logo on the bottom right of the webpage has been updated to Jagex's new logo, which was introduced in April of 2017. I also got a bit curious and decided to see if you could still buy FunOrb membership. Turns out you can, but the price has been increased to $4.95 a month. But this is good to show that at least they still do offer it. Plus, it even has a fancy new page where you can card it and check out at. Not sure if it means anything, but I'm guessing the next time we hear about FunOrb, there is a slight possibility that it won't be about it closing. If you are still interested in FunOrb and playing FunOrb games, everything there still seems to work, although you do have to play it through something like Internet Explorer. Down below, I've also included a link to a Discord full of people that play FunOrb games. If that sounds interesting to you at all, I'd suggest checking it out, even though it doesn't appear to be too active. So, I hope you all enjoyed that video. It was a lot of fun digging through the past of a website and games I used to enjoy a lot. So, I previously mentioned that a FunOrb Discord exists, but there is a FunOrb subreddit as well for anyone that's interested in that. Once again, just like the Discord, there doesn't seem to be too much going on over there. But for those of you that can't get games to work, I'd highly suggest going over there, especially because they seem to be working on a whole bunch of custom clients and tutorials on how to get games to work, all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested, once again, check out that and the Discord. Before I go, I'd just like to thank you all so much. We are getting really close to 10k subscribers, and I'm guessing within the next month or so we might even hit it. I don't really know what else to say besides thank you. There'll definitely be a more formal thank you when we actually do hit the number, but at this point I'm just rambling. Anyway, drop a like, comment what I should talk about next, and I will see you in the next one.